Hey, what is up, guys? My name is Chris, and welcome to another episode of After Hours. Thank you so much for being here. And tonight, I invite my internet buddy, Mr. Devin Tyus, and we are going to talk about Destiny 2. All right, so tonight, to talk some Destiny 2, I've got with me Mr. Devin Tyus. Mr. Devin Tyus, please tell everybody where they can find you and what kind of stuff you're into, sir.
What up, fellas? This is your boy Devin Tyus, aka Dat Ninja Dev. You can find me on the Twitters at DevATyus. I'm part of the Play Some Video Games crew over at PSVG. I'm also one half of the Unrated podcast. Huge Destiny nut as well as a PlayStation fan. I mean, that's my box of choice. But yeah, though that's where you can find me. Come holler at me.
Yeah, I see you rocking those Sony Gold headset right there, too.
Yeah. It's only because I don't have anything better. They're cool. I like the Pulse Elite better, but they broke, so I'm rocking.
Oh, man, that's too bad. Well, I hear the Golds are actually pretty good. So,
Yeah.
Destiny. You and I were both really big Destiny 1 fans. I mean, we both played the mess out of that game. And I played, last time I checked, I had about 1,100 hours, which is easily the most hours I've ever put in any one game ever.
Wow, that is a ton of hours. Yeah, I think I had about 1,000 myself between
Jeez.
my three guardians, but it was mostly, used on my warlock.
Yeah.
But yeah, about 1,000 hours is what I put into it. And yeah, for me, I would say that's the most hours I've ever put in a game. But there was this one game called World of Warcraft that I also
I was
dumped
gonna
a ton
say,
of hours into. So
yeah, so like you, because you've played WoW before, you kind of were into the whole MMO kind of
yeah,
stuff, which I know Destiny's not like a legit MMO, but it's
yeah,
like MMO,
light.
baby's first MMO kind
Yeah,
of
pretty
thing.
much.
And it was the first MMO-ish game I've ever played my entire life. So
Mhm.
it was a whole new world to me, and I just got sucked in to all the loot grinding and the strikes and the fire teams and going on when I did my first raid, blew my
Oh yeah,
mind. It was
man,
ridiculous.
Vault
And
of Glass. Woo!
oh
Like,
yes, I cannot believe how much fun I had doing Vault of Glass. And so then Vanilla Destiny came out, and obviously it had its issues.
oh yeah,
It was not a perfect game.
right.
Technically speaking, it was actually very rock solid. I don't remember it ever like crapping out or just crashing or servers having like big major issues. I don't remember any of that. Launch wise, it was really, really rock
Rockstar,
solid.
yeah, it's funny. It's one of the few games where it actually launched an online only game and there were
Yeah.
no issues. Everything else, like you were looking at, like servers crashing, you had these
Yeah.
ridiculous wait times. But Destiny vanilla launch was flawless. Like I was in
I mean,
there, no problem.
and there was hype for this game. It's not like
Oh
it
yeah,
was a slow grow. It like got hit at the beginning, and it's like Call of Duty can't go 1 year without launching and having issues. It's like
right.
how can you do this? But regardless, I mean, all that stuff was great.
Yes.
A bunch of the knocks about it were, the story's not really there. What
Yeah.
story is there doesn't really make sense. Any of the lore that you are going to figure out, you've got to go outside of the game in this app or on the desktop, and you've got to read it in these things called Grimoire cards.
Yeah.
The missions were very repetitive, which that I give them a little bit of a pass on, because when you're doing an MMO nature where you're loot grinding and grinding
Yeah.
for materials and things, you're going to end up having to do the same things kind of over and over. So that one I don't really give too much credence to whenever people complain in that direction.
Right.
And then so pretty quickly after that, after the year one, they started coming out. Well, actually during year one, they came out with the first expansion that had
They had two expansions.
Crota's End, Raise, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had House of Wolves.
Yep.
And then when year two came around, we got the Taken King.
Yep.
And then at year three, we got Rise of Iron. And those were all expansions. They basically were just additions added on to the current game that would change, like give you new stuff to do, essentially. And that's where I kind of started having my issues. I was like,
Yes,
all
I
right,
remember.
the first expansion, the Dark Below, I think is what it was called.
Yep. Dark Below.
That was pretty good. House of Wolves changed some stuff up, but I actually got to where I really liked it. I was like, okay, wait a minute. They made some changes here, and I really dig this. Then the
Yeah.
very next one, The Taken King, even though the story content was way better and way better presented, they changed some systems again. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I just started going crazy with the fact that it felt like that they were kind of figuring out as they went. And in reality, they probably were to some extent. I mean, this is Bungie's first go with this kind of game. And I know that's going to take some, trial and error and figuring things out. And I give them props. They listen to the community and they kind of try some stuff out. Like I know people were like, oh my gosh, I want to re-roll every one of my guns. Well, then they introduced re-rolling all your guns. And then that caused its own problems. And so they had to dial it back. And I understand when it comes to things like balance changes. Where
Mm-hmm.
my issue came in was they were making changes that seemed like they were taking away from what they originally had promised with the game, in my
Right.
opinion. Now
Right.
it's kind of up to everybody's interpretation, but they came in and they said, look, you're gonna go out here, you're gonna form your legend, you're gonna earn this piece of gear through, some crazy task that you do, and you're gonna be able to wear that in the tower, and people are gonna know, oh my gosh, he killed Crota, or he took down Atheon, or whatever. They're gonna know because of the gear that I have and the weapons that I have. And then they started changing it to where this weapon, you can't use it past this expansion, or you can, but its power level can't go up and match the current ones. And that bummed me out. And then in House of Wolves, they introduced Etheric Light, and they're like, okay, now you can bring everything up. And so I was
Right.
like, great, the world is right. They fixed their problem that they created. And
Mm-hmm.
then the very next expansion, Taken King, they took that away again. It's like that
Like,
Etheric
nope.
Light, yeah, that's not a thing anymore. It's like, oh my gosh. So it drove me up a wall
I
how
remember
they
lots of Twitter conversations
Yes.
between
Oh
you and
my
I
gosh.
about
I
that.
I ranted about this game so much on Twitter. And it's I've never with a game had such a oh my gosh, I love this to all of my oh my god, I hate everything that they're doing. I've never been that complete, 180 on things before. But no matter what, through all the issues that I had, every expansion I was back.
Yeah.
And I was going to be playing and I was going to be with my friends and I was going to go on my fire team and I was going to figure out how to do that raid and I was going to beat that raid. I was always there. So when they announced officially Destiny 2, because that was one thing, I was one of those people that's like, maybe there'll never be a Destiny 2. They'll just
Yeah.
keep adding on and adding on.
I figured the same thing. Like I almost thought, like, why even do a two? Why have a numbered expansion? Because coming from the World of Warcraft universe, like there's no World
Yeah.
of Warcraft 2. This game has been around since 2004.
Yep.
And it's literally just the same game, but they just keep adding expansion after expansion after expansion. It's funny because a lot of the chatter on the internet is this is Destiny 1.5. It's not really a sequel. It's just another expansion. And then, in a way, it is. They completely reset everything with the way they're going to introduce us into the world again. But honestly, since it's the same world, the same characters, all the same lore, just being expanded upon it, I can
Mm-hmm.
understand why people kind of feel like this isn't really a sequel. It's just another expansion. And it kind of is, but it's
Yep.
also a reset. So I understand why they threw the two on there because they're taking a lot of stuff in what seems to be different directions, adding a lot of stuff that wasn't even capable in the previous Destiny. So I get both sides of the argument.
Well, that's going to kind of leads us perfectly into our discussion that we're going to have because when Destiny 2 was announced and then they had this reveal, I was like, all right, I am ready to get hype. I want to be hype about Destiny 2. And I'm not hype about Destiny 2. I'm looking forward to it and I want to play it and I know I'm going to get it. But I'm not over here like Jones, like, oh my gosh, that beta needs to hit now. I want to play so bad.
That's
Because
wrong.
I'm very much falling in the camp of, man, this just feels like an expansion. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like, from what I've seen of the reveal, and I haven't got to watch every single bit of it, but what I
Right.
have seen, it feels like, yeah, there's quality of life stuff, and that's awesome. I'm cool with that. But why does it need to have a 2? It very much feels
Right.
like to me that the reason that they did a 2 was just to be able to bring in the PC people. And I'm not hating against like PC people, and I want everybody that can to experience the game and to love the game. But it's like even if it was just an expansion, they could come in and they would all be on an even playing field because they're
Right.
their own platform. So
Right.
I'm struggling here with figuring out, okay, one, why is it a 2?
Mm-hmm.
And 2, what is there really here to get hype about? Because it feels to me like it's
Mm-hmm.
still more of the, well, we're trying to figure this out. And
Yeah.
hopefully, like, this is where that ceiling ends. And from here on out, it really is just quality of life stuff. But it feels to me, I don't see enough of a jump here to have a whole 2, like going over a total like new number. It just doesn't feel that way to me. So what am I not getting? What am I missing here?
So, and it's hard for me to say that you're missing anything because I agree. I don't think there was ever a need for a two, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I think it should have just been called Destiny Homecoming or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. Because honestly, like the idea of a two of a sequel, it seems like you're going 10 years in the future, or you're going 10 years in the past, or you're doing something radically different. Where
Mhm.
Destiny 2 isn't really doing a whole lot radically different in the way the game plays, and the way the game is presented, and the fact that it's literally like just the next day. This could literally be okay. You went ahead and you took out Axis, and this is tomorrow, or this
Yep.
is a week later. It's not a huge break of time to where it really is like this is something totally new, totally different. But in that same respect, for me, and I wrote a recap of it. I said in the recap that like this feels like more Destiny. And that's probably one of the best things it could be,
Yeah.
because like you said, the gameplay and that 30 seconds of fun loop that Bungie goes for is so rock solid and so good that there's nothing else that feels like it. Like for me,
Nope.
popping effects in the juice box is one of the greatest feelings. Just getting a headshot and watching their soul escape. Like it's probably one of the greatest feeling games from a gameplay stance that I've ever
Yep.
played, which led to me putting 1,000+ hours into this game, and where I'm
I
going to
will
do the same
say
thing with you
I've played
too.
a lot of FPS games,
Mm-hmm.
and I've always been one of those people that said, "Look, Call of Duty's just got it right. Their
Right.
controls are good. I understand you want your game to be different, but if you're gonna have all the same equipment and weapons and everything, you need to just copy their controls because they've done it better. You just need
Yep.
to admit it." Then I played Destiny. Now, granted, Destiny doesn't have it quite as many, like you don't have two grenades necessarily
Right.
and all that, so you're not needing quite as many buttons. But Destiny is easily the best feeling FPS game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Ever. And
Hands down.
all honestly, I was one of those people that was like, okay, I want all my games, especially FPS, 60 frames.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not 60 frames, you're trash.
Right.
And then I played Destiny. I was like, well, shoot, they're rocking, at least on console, 30
Mm-hmm.
frames a second, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
having a blast. So I let it go. I was like, look, if you can give me 60, awesome. But if not, I'm cool with 30.
That's
So
funny. Yeah.
I totally feel you on all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
just.
So it kind of breaks down to like, what are you looking for in a sequel to actually get you into that hype level? Because they, like you said, a lot
Yeah.
of it is quality of life stuff. The fact that
Yeah.
our clan will now actually be in the game,
Yes.
and you
That's
can
going to
do
be
a
awesome.
lot of stuff like that. That's something that we weren't even close to having in
Yep.
D1. So being able to have your entire clan is not just another friends list, but actually as something that you can actually bring into the game. You can start up matches with your clanmates. You can see when they're online. You can join them. You can also level up as a clan to actually be able to
Mm-hmm.
have clan rewards and things of that nature for
Yeah, that's
rewarding
really
you for
nice.
working together as a clan. Like that's something is a huge quality of life and something that can only probably be brought about by them having a sequel, dropping a lot of the stuff from D1, being tied to the old legacy consoles, and
Yep.
being able to take a step forward with a lot of stuff like that. So just the clan interface alone, I think, is going to be a huge boon because it also adds a light version of matchmaking and what they're calling guided games. So if you're
Yeah.
solo, you can find a clan to match with and play along with and actually get that raid done. Where in
And I
D1,
really like
you
that
couldn't do
because,
that.
yeah, having to go out to LFG, I mean, it worked and I've used it before, but it's a very hit or miss experience, at
Right.
least for me, which is why I was so happy and lucky, really, that I had so many friends that were into the game that I rarely had to use LFG. I almost always could find somebody, hey, I need you to fill in this spot. You down to go? And they would be in to do
Mhm.
it. And I do think that the clan stuff is awesome. I love it being integrated. I didn't get to see that first mission where you're coming out of the tower, very much
Mhm.
of it. So I was expecting, okay, they're going to really pull away from the whole grimoire. Like, the grimoire may still exist, but they're going to integrate a lot more of that into the actual story content. It doesn't seem like they're really doing that.
It's
But
hard to say.
now, I did see from the reveal, or maybe it was on Twitter somewhere, somebody who had gone to the reveal and actually got hands on with the game.
Mhm.
There was some icon where they were somewhere and you could hit like square and it would say to read lore or something.
Yes.
And so it would at least bring up the grimoire type information right there inside the game.
Yeah, that was I think it was My Name is Bife. I saw that screenshot. He
Yeah,
captured it.
yeah,
He
that's who
said
it
you
was.
press L2 or press square for lore. So hopefully they're actually
Hmm.
bringing that into the game. I'm a
Yep.
huge Grimoire fan. Like I want to have both. I want to be able to, if I want to, go through the app or go on my desktop and look at the
Hmm.
actual, like read the actual lore. Like I'm a junkie when it comes to that stuff. I love
Yep.
reading about more. But I also love the fact, like in Bioshock Infinite, when you picked up the little I guess they were like voice notes or whatnot, you would just let them play in the game. So as you're going through, you still have that in the background playing.
Hmm.
I would have loved to have them have done that for the Grimoire, to be able to actually just have it play in the background. Once you pick up a
Yep.
dead ghost or whatever you get, you find a weapon and it's got a Grimoire card attached to it. If you have the option to let that play in the background while you're actually playing the game, or actually be able
Yep.
to go back to it and read it whenever in game, I think
Yep.
that would have done a lot for the there's no story in Destiny type of stuff.
I do like the idea of being able to play the Grimoire while you're just doing like, you know, you're gathering materials or something,
Hmm.
or just in general going into it and having like Northbot, just having him be able to read the Grimoire if you just wanted to go through him like in the game. Because I
Yeah.
do like, I'm the same as you. I mean, I don't read, I'm not as up on reading all the lore stuff, but I definitely read a lot of the Grimoire cards. And I liked being like, I'm at work or I'm, you know, I'm getting my oil changed or something. And hey,
Hmm.
I got a few minutes. Let me pop open some of those new Grimoire cards and reading them right there. That was cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted more of it to be in the game. And it did seem like in that first mission, okay, so you're running around with Zavala or
Hmm.
Ikora
Hmm.
or Cade 6, but I kind of want more of that, like a mission guy with you a lot. And it seems like outside of that first little mission that based on the strike that I watched, it doesn't
Hmm.
seem like that's going to be the case. And another thing, so here, the thing that I really, really wanted for this to be in my mind, like, okay, this is deserving of the number 2. I wanted something that we didn't have at all in Destiny 1. And I mean, like, I don't mean a different version. I mean something that was totally that we did not have. And it could have been something as simple as just one new class or a
Well,
fourth subclass with a different element type, not replacing one of the elements now with a new subclass. Because new subclasses are cool, but I don't, it's just replacing one of the other ones that I had. And it's kind
right.
of the same. I
So
just,
this is just a early preview, the one mission, and we
mm-hmm.
lose our light. So that's another weird thing.
Yep.
Like I'm wondering if what they even showed in the beginning, if we'll even have that additional super, because they had new supers in that thing, and there
Yep.
is actually a whole other ability. I don't know if you noticed, but in the bottom where you would have your cooldown for your grenades and your melee, there's also another subclass ability. So you do have
Yep.
a whole new ability structure that you didn't have before, and there's a whole new the way they do their subclasses. So there was a gunslinger that actually had arc ability. So it looks like they're integrating a lot of the subclasses to where you can have a different loadout that isn't just one type of like not just arc or not just
Mm-hmm.
solar. Like you can have where you can play around with some of those bits. And who knows, we may have more subclasses. There may be a fourth subclass. I'm imagining that when we lose our light, we're gonna have to gain something to replace it,
Yeah.
and maybe we'll keep that once we regain our light. So it's still super early. They've only showed that one mission, that one strike, and I don't know if there will be another subclass or anything like that. But based on the fact that we actually have a whole new set of abilities that we didn't have before, that's an additional ability. Like I know you were able to shade step, but he was a
Yep.
gunslinger, so being able to intertwine a lot of that stuff is cool. And like I think the warlock has a new ability where they can just drop a pool of light that actually allows them to do double damage or allows them to heal the party. So that adds a whole new element because before there was no healing class. So
Yeah,
there
that's
may
true.
be a whole new class system where you're actually going to have where the Titan is more of a tank, and then you've got your support class in the Warlock, which can actually do healing, and then you have like a DPS class in the Hunter. So we may actually see some of the some actual class roles instead of pretty much everything is the same except for your super.
Okay, I didn't see that, so I will put that in the this is something to think about column. One other thing that kind of keeping with another thing that I would have liked to have had to, in my
Mm-hmm.
mind, justify it too. It doesn't seem like we have any new enemies. It seems like it's the same
Yeah,
old, same old. It's Cabal, it's Fallen, it's Vex.
yeah,
And I was like, out of all of, like, besides a new race that you could be as a guardian of some type, and
right.
besides a new element and a new subclass, like those, I could see how they would say maybe this is hard to do. But a new enemy type is like, make it up. Just figure something out
Right.
and bring me some new thing. And I get that even if you want to stick with the whole Cabal is the one who destroyed the planet or came after it, fine. And maybe we will get this. This is something that could totally come in the future because if they have
Mm-hmm.
whatever the next expansion is, maybe that's going to have a new enemy type. So that one I can give them a little bit of a break on because
Right.
time will tell if that's a thing that we get. But just not having any of those four things
Yeah.
just really made me feel like, man, it's like I want to get hype. I want to see something like I have never seen this in my life. I want to be hype, and they
Right.
didn't give me that. They did give me, like I said, a lot of cool quality of life stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely in. But when
Well.
I bought Destiny 1,
Mm-hmm.
I bought it digitally and I bought whatever version it's called where it has the two expansions built in, like the first two
Right.
expansions. I'm just planning to get the straight game this go around because I was like, I'm gonna hold off and wait. And if they hook me, like they did before, then I'll go in and jump in. I don't mind paying a little bit extra by not bundling it and getting the expansions. But
Right.
you're like all
Oh,
in.
I'm all in. I'm getting the $250 version just because I can.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
I love
the what the
Destiny
like the
that much.
satchel and all
Yeah,
that
yeah, I want it
yeah.
all. Because one of the things that you got that I didn't get was I think it was the special edition of, I want to say, the Taken King.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever one
Strange
came with
coin.
the strange coin. Yeah, I don't have
Yep.
any of that, and I was like, if they
Yep.
just
I
gave
got the
me it, like,
strange coin right up here, and I've got the Dinklebot from the original
yeah.
collector's edition.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have the Dinklebot. I don't have the Strange Coin. So I'm like, you know what? I love this game enough to where
Yep.
I want to get all the little extras and goodies that I can. Now, going back to there not being a new enemy, there are new enemy types within the Cabal. Like you saw, they have the Red Legion.
Yes.
They actually use swords and this, some kind of crazy looking monstrosity. They have the dogs. And the fact that we're going to at least three new places that we haven't been before. We know one is actually a Vex City. We may come across totally different enemies that we have not seen before. I don't see why there's any reason to believe that there won't be some kind of new enemy. I can't imagine them launching a whole new game and not bringing at least one new enemy class for us to deal with. I
Yep.
imagine there's got to be something. Like
Well,
it would
see,
just be a huge miss if there isn't.
yeah, and I will give it to you. There are new types of the enemy. So like the Cabal has new version of the Cabal. I guess technically speaking, the dogs are a new enemy, but they're more of like a minion. Yeah, I
I
mean,
look
I,
at
I
them
think of
kind of
them
like
kind of
the thralls.
yeah, they're
Like a
very
thrall.
much like just the Cabal version of the Thrall. That's kind of what they seem like. And I just wanted something brand spanking new. And I really feel like it would have been a much bigger, like Destiny 2, bam, with this whole big new threat. I don't know, make it dragons that are coming from, some faraway planet. I don't care,
Right.
just something. I feel like that would have been whoa, more bigger. Like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do about this? And I'm losing my light and my powers. Oh my gosh, this is so
Right.
crazy.
I agree with
And
you on that. It would have had way more impact if we would have had
yeah,
some whole new enemy threat instead of the cabal that we already know are a
yep,
threat. I mean, it kind of, if you look at it in the fact that it does kind of feel like an expansion. I mean, this ties back to one of the missions where they were talking about there was a distress signal sent way out to the Cabal Empire. This is
yep,
them, owning up on that, and that goes into them not, just letting a story in just disappear. Like what we have a whole lot of issues with from D1 is the fact that the story just kind of fragmented and
yep.
didn't go anywhere. Like, where the hell is the Exo Stranger? Where did
Exactly.
she
What is
go?
the deal with
Where
her?
did she go? It's just like, okay, you came from what seemed to be the future, and there seemed to
Yeah.
be so much promise, but that is a completely loose story thread. So at least with this, they actually are like, okay, we have this story thread. The Cabal are a huge threat. They sent out this distress call. Let's go ahead and like loop that in and not just have that be another loose end that we have to tie up because where are the Cabal? Like there was no Cabal expansion. There was no dealing with the Cabal as a threat. So we're
Yep.
kind of getting that in two, where it really makes it feel even more like it's just an expansion because you're not getting a brand new enemy, you're not some new threat, you're just getting the Cabal, which you already know. But at least they're tying the story in, and hopefully we get a really, really solid story,
Yep.
which we didn't really have in D1. Like there was plenty of story there, but none of it was very cohesive, and there's a lot of just loose ends.
Yeah, and you could see like when the Taken King came out, its story was better and it was better
Yeah,
told throughout the actual campaign of that. So
absolutely.
if this is an iteration and getting better, then I'm all good with that. Yeah, I mean, I have to hope that it's just going to be even better than the Taken King was because out of
Yeah,
Gear 1, Taken King was
Taken
kind
King.
of
Yeah,
like the shining
that's the high
light.
point. Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
the high
and it
point for
was
sure.
definitely where everybody was like, okay, I feel like they're getting this thing on track finally.
Yeah.
So what about PvP? Are you a PvP guy?
I wasn't at first. Like I was like,
Yeah.
I can't do PvP. I can't do it. And then I just started getting into it, and I fell in love with PvP. Like at first, it
Yep.
was just like, I'm not messing with this. I don't have to. Like it's
Yep.
not anything that I'm missing. And then I just started getting into the PvP, and I ended up falling in love with the PvP because of the fact that it's not just Call of Duty, where whoever
Yes.
shoots first is going to die. Like
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was my biggest problem with just first person shooters online in general. Like if it was Battlefield or it was Call of Duty, I felt like I had stood no chance against somebody who's
Yep.
been playing the game for a long time.
Or that's the only game they
Yeah,
play, or
you,
yeah,
you
yeah.
have no chance. Where with Destiny, like there's so much more. maneuverability, escapability. There's so many more tactics you can use to where you may not be the person who just strictly PvPs, but at least you stand
Yep.
a hell of a better chance than you would in Call of Duty. So I ended up falling in love with PvP, and finally got kind of good at it. I'm not gonna say I'm great, but at least my
Yeah.
KD is a level 1.
Yeah. You can
Where in
hang
most
and you
games,
feel good.
PvP,
Like when you're done, you're like, I
yeah,
did pretty good at that.
yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm a huge fan of PvP. The changes they made are interesting, and because I don't come from that PvP world, I'm not sure of how much of an impact it's gonna have.
Yep.
Them changing it from the modes having like 6-on-6 and 3-on-3 to everything being 4-on-4. It seemed like it got a pretty good whoop from the crowd. That I know a lot of them that were PvPers. So I'm
Yep.
imagining the 4-on-4 is going to make it feel a lot tighter. Because I know, like for example, in Control, like you don't have to really play as a team in Control to actually get a win. Like you can completely just go commando, just go shooting everybody and not worrying about capturing the points. Where I think if you're in a much tighter mode where it's 4-on-4, you actually have to work a little bit better as a team, communicate a little bit better to actually, get the objective if it's not just straight deathmatch. So I think that's going to play into it a lot. And the fact that people love trials, that really, sweaty 3-on-3 competition where it's just a lot more strategic, I think the 4-on-4 is going to play into that. But hopefully it's also loose enough to where, the casual players don't feel left out. And it seemed like a lot of the stuff they did with the HUD is going to
Hmm.
make it a lot easier because now you can see when somebody has their super, you can see when they've picked up power ammo, you can see when they're dead. So you have a lot more just information about what's going on in the game to where if you're, the pro guy, you're going to be able to utilize that in a certain way. But if you're just a casual guy coming in, you don't feel completely just, useless.
Well,
So,
I will say, based on that last little thing that you said about how you can see their super and you can see who has the heavier ammo or whatever, well, I guess I should back up completely. The PvP changes I hate completely. I don't like a single one of them.
okay.
And I'll start with the ammo, like I was just talking about. That to me was one of the main draws of Destiny PvP.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that, like you said, how it wasn't just whoever shoots first is going to be the winner. You had some maneuverability, there was more
Mm-hmm.
strategy involved with it, but also not knowing, is that guy coming around the corner, does he have his golden gun? Does he have his
Right.
slam? Does he have his bubble? Does he have his, the void walker, whatever the thing was called? The
Right.
weird warlock thing. I
Nova
don't know. I
bomb.
didn't pay. Yeah,
Nova
Nova
bomb.
Bomb.
Atari.
I was like, not knowing if that person has that added to the intensity of the game. I don't want to
Right.
know that stuff.
Right.
I think it's the silliest move. Now, I understand how that could be a strategy. Like if okay, well, let's go to this other point or whatever. But
Right.
to me, that added to the intensity of the game is not knowing exactly what you are up against. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that at all. I don't mind so much the knowing about the weapon that, oh, they've got heavy or whatever. That's just kind of is what it is. I'm fine with that, I think.
Right.
I'm willing to give those, the benefit of the doubt that, hey, it's going to be for the better.
Right.
On the surface, I don't like it, but I'm willing to feel it out and see how it goes.
Right.
The 4v4 stuff, I'm against, and you're not going to win me over on this because PvP and Destiny 1, outside of the raid, PvP was the
Right.
only thing where you could get a decent amount of your friends together to play.
Right. I agree.
And so the only other way was to do the raid. And if, because in the fire teams, just going around
Three,
doing
yeah.
missions and strikes,
Yeah.
it's 3. And it doesn't seem like that's changing.
I
So
feel like
then,
I heard Luke Smith say something about it not just being 3. I thought he said like 4 or something like that, but I can't confirm
all right,
that
well,
at
I
all.
hadn't heard that at all. So if it goes up, great, good on you.
Yeah.
But in the PvP side, like when they introduced trials, and I did a little bit of trials, I really wasn't super great at it, but I enjoyed the, it's all on the line kind of mentality about it.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, if trials is going to go over, and I guess we don't really know that for sure at the moment,
It's coming.
it's like that needs to be the one where all those hardcore people go and do that. This other
Right.
mode, moving all PvP, and we don't know, it's not been completely confirmed which game types are carrying over, correct? I know they have this
Yeah.
new one
Yeah,
that
they
they
have a new
introduced in the
one.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say Control goes away, or let's say that Rift goes away, and it's just going to be 3 or 4 new game modes.
Mm-hmm.
The one video that I watched, which was outside of the reveal, it was one of the people who had gone and got to actually do some capture, and they were talking about it, and they were like, look, for this one game mode that they were showing at the reveal, it's a larger map, and the game is slowing down. That's the
Yeah.
worst thing you want to hear for PvP, is that it's slowing down. That's so That's just the worst thing. Unless it's the only thing I know how to really equate it to in the Call of Duty world is a game mode called Search and Destroy. It's where
Search
you
and
have a
destroy.
bomb, and this is
That's
kind of what this
exactly what
mode
the
is
new
similar
mode is.
to.
Yeah.
So it's okay if that mode, I guess, is slowing the game down because you
Right.
are supposed to be being really sneaky because you only have one life in the game.
Yeah.
I don't know if this mode had one life or if you
You have to have
respawn.
revive tokens, so you can't just revive
Okay,
somebody in this mode. You have to have a token to revive them, but it is very much
gotcha.
search and destroy.
So if that indeed is going to be the case and it's just this mode, okay. But if you open up all these other modes and they're all only 4v4 and you're slowing the game down, I don't want that. It's like, why couldn't they have just left 6-on-6 game modes, brought in a couple 4-on-4 game modes for those hardcore people or people that want to do that, and then if you're going to have trials, still have that. So you have the beginner, if you will, for the 6v6, you have the intermediate for the 4v4, and then you've got the hardcore at 3v3. Why? This is another one of those things where it felt like Destiny, you brought something out, it was good, people liked it, it wasn't broke, and you're fixing it. It's like, leave it be. I'm all cool for you adding things in. Stop taking away stuff that is not broken.
Yeah, it's funny.
That drives me
the
insane.
PvP crowd is really interesting. Like, you hear so many complaints about what the meta is and the time to kill and everything. So it's like, I don't really know what the PvP crowd is looking for. I'm not a huge PvPer.
Yeah.
But just from the stuff that I've said, some of the people like it. They slowed the time to kill. They said that the time to kill was slowed down. Like, it does seem like it's longer. I don't know if they got to play more than just that one mode, or if they got to play other modes with just 4-on-4. I mean, time will tell. Like, it does seem really, really strange for them to leave everything at 4v4 because, like you said, like, it was the only other place where like you could take a crew and just go play and just enjoy the trash talking and just the camaraderie of a 6v6 thing that wasn't the raid. Like, if they would just introduce just six player just fire teams, I'd be good because then you can go out in the world and do a bunch of stuff with your buddies or whatnot. That would be great. But to take away the only other place where you can actually get 6 of you in just seems like a really, really odd choice. I agree with you on that. But time will tell what it actually turns into. Are they going to keep custom games? And if you have custom games, can you go over the 4v4?
Yeah, so, that's true. If they leave custom games and you can change it up and do your own thing, then that might be a bit of an olive branch to someone like me who's annoyed that they've changed it to where all multiplayer is only 4v4.
Yeah, so, Mr. Overwatch over here.
Yeah. So I will. It's all these things that are just making me like, I want to love and be like super hyped for this game, but all these question marks, they're all things I'm willing to say, hey, Bungie, I'm going to believe that you know what you're doing here. But I've got trepidations because I have a history of you just figuring it out and throwing things at the wall and see what sticks. And I don't like that. I want this to be the Destiny that is like, all right, we've got it figured out. And sure, there'll be little tweaks and changes and things as we go forward. But for the most part, this is Destiny. And we're going to move forward from here. That's what my hope is. And if it is that, then I'm going to be good. I'm going to be like, all right, cool. Destiny will be a game I'll play for like years and years to come. I can see it right now.
Yeah.
But if they drop this game and then the next expansion and every expansion, they're switching things up again and introducing a new material that you've got to have to do this, and then they take it away the next one, I'm going to be like, all right, you know what, Destiny, I'm about because you're too all over the place and I can't figure you out. Because take it. The fact that they're with Activision is with Blizzard.
Right.
It's like, look at what World of Warcraft does. It's like they've just go talk to those guys. They've got it down pat.
That is what I said from jump. Like,
exactly.
They partnered with Activision, and that is World of Warcraft, and you're trying to create that same kind of idea in space. There's no reason why you shouldn't partner with them and just really pick their brains and see what works and see how they evolve from vanilla all the way to Legion, which I think is the last expansion right now. But you have so much knowledge just, at your beck and call to be like, hey, what are you guys doing? How did this work? How did you get over this hump? How did you fix this? How did you fix that? Like, I think they have just a wealth of knowledge that they can pick and choose from. And hopefully with Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy, who are the game directors and the leads on this game, they have been able to go and find, all kinds of information on how to make things better. And I mean, this is just a gameplay reveal right now. We still have E3, we still have the beta, we still have a good amount of time leading up to where they can actually show us a lot more, and hopefully they'll address some of those issues. Like, I know that one of your biggest things is the fact that, like, I love this gun, but now I can't use it. This is dumb. Like, I totally get that. I don't know if you noticed the way they changed a lot of the weapons to where the issue with, like, for example, Fatebringer and all the Vault of Glass weapons, the reason why they got rid of them going forward is because they were just way too powerful. Well,
Yep.
now the weapon slots have completely changed. You have your kinetic
Yes.
weapons, you have your energy weapons, and you have your power weapons. Your kinetic and your energy can be the exact same weapon. So now you can have, quote unquote, your elemental primaries back. So I think that just that alone is going to allow them to actually not have to get rid of weapons, because if you find a weapon that you love, you can keep it. There's no need to actually get rid of it, because we're not into this problem where we have elemental primaries. They're just way too strong in breaking the game.
And
So
I
hopefully we'll be able to see something like that that actually carries on, and we're not just having a bunch of trash gear that we just discard.
and I did see some of those people who went to the reveal and got to do some recording. We're talking about now. Granted, this is just not even beta. This is more like alpha that they got to play. But they were saying it looks like the armor no longer has all the different like what do they call them? Shoot, all the different elements that they had to, or not elements, but the attributes that they had. They had I keep lights what's sticking in my head, but they had like intellect and discipline and those. It looks like those may be gone away, and it may just be a set piece of armor. And I don't know if that's going to be the way that it is, but I kind of like that, because that was one thing too. Now, granted, it did keep you on the loot grind where you're like, okay, well, I got to get that one with the perfect rolls. But at the same time, like, man, when I got later in the life cycle where it's like I didn't have as much time to play, I was like, I'm missing. This would be the perfect piece if I had these different stat attributes on it.
Yeah,
so
I definitely agree with you with that.
If those are gone, I'm fine with that. Yeah, I'm fine with it just being like a set, like, oh, this gives you X amount of defense, or this gives you X amount of whatever you're wanting to give.
Yeah, it would drive me nuts. I'd get these gauntlets that I want, but they have strength and intellect. I'm like, no, I want intellect and discipline. So these are basically trash now because they don't fit for the build I want to roll. So yeah, I would be totally okay with them getting rid of the intellect, strength, and discipline rolls on the armor. Like, that just drove me nuts, because you'd be sitting here, you get what you think is a good piece, but the roll is too low, or it doesn't have the right pieces that you want to it. So you're like, I gotta wear it because I need the light. So I gotta deal with it. So,
and you mentioned also that Luke Smith is the director, the creative director of this game, I believe. And if you really look at the lifespan of Destiny, he's really had a hand in everything that's been the best parts of Destiny.
Right.
So, like, he's the one who was the creative lead on designing the Vault of Glass raid, which is held by everybody as being the best raid in the game. Absolutely. And then wasn't he also the creative director of the Taken King?
Yep.
Yep. And that was, out of all the expansions, is kind of thought of as the best expansion. So that definitely gives me like I can breathe a little bit here, because Luke Smith seems to know what he's doing. You know, everything he touches in the Destiny world so far has been pretty golden. So that's definitely good. And then also, like you said before, when you were talking about, hey, you know, Blizzard's right there, why don't you talk with them? The PC version of Destiny is going to be going through Battle.net. And the homeboy, whatever his name was, came up on the video screen on the stage and said, yeah, we're big Destiny fans. So if anything, that gives you even more of an in to just go and pick their brains, figure out what they do right, and like say, how can we, we're all friends here. I'm going to take a little bit of what you got, you take a little bit of what I got, and we're all good. So I definitely, I'm all with you. They need to definitely do that. And so that brings us kind of the last little thing that I just want to talk to you specifically about, because I know you played World of Warcraft. You planning on playing this game at all on PC?
So here's the thing with the PC. I know it's going to be delayed. So it's not going to be my main, because it just won't work. I want to play the game day one. So PC won't be my main. The second part is I'm going to have to build the PC to play the way I want to play. Like, I love the idea of it having an uncapped frame rate, so I can actually run it at 60. I can run it at 4K, and to be able to have that type of just leeway to actually have the game running and looking at its absolute best, I'm all for. So I'm definitely going to play it on PC. I'll probably play it on my little laptop that I have until I kill that. And then I'm actually going to be trying to build a PC so I can actually run it at least 60 frames per second in 4K in all of its glory. So I'm definitely going to be playing it on PC. I'm a Blizzard fan. I have Battle.net. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go that route. When the time comes, for sure. Yeah. What about you? You gonna play on Mac?
They're not gonna offer it on Mac right now. The only games Battle.net. That's the craziest thing. So Blizzard has always been really good about, like, at least throwing the Mac people a bone and like, hey, you know, here's Hearthstone, here's World of Warcraft, here's Heroes of the Storm. But then Overwatch, it's not on there. So I don't think Destiny's gonna be on there. It's something about their FPS. They're like, nah, I don't think that I will be shocked shocked if Destiny 2 is available on the Mac. If it is, yes, I will give it a shot. I will buy it even not knowing if I like playing, because I'm not much for the whole keyboard and mouse thing.
Oh, I'm not playing with a keyboard and mouse. I'm definitely plugging a controller.
Yeah, you just can't tell anybody because they all like roll their eyes like, oh, this peasant console guy playing with his controller on the PC.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to be plugging in the controller because Destiny was meant to be played with the controller. So that's what I'm going to play it with.
I feel you there. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. All right, cool, man. Well, I think that you've kind of mellowed me out a little bit. I'm still not like, bam, I'm all aboard the hype train just yet, but I'm definitely like, I'm in line to purchase my ticket to get on that hype train. So I appreciate you coming on. Yeah, exactly. I appreciate you coming on and kind of giving me your insights and kind of letting me bounce some ideas off you and walking me off a ledge here a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys go ahead and go check out Devin at all the different spaces that he said that he's available. Go follow him on Twitter. Check him out on PSVG, Unrated Podcast, PSVG Podcast, anywhere else that he's doing stuff. Just go hit him on Twitter. That's the best way to find everything. I mean, Twitter's like the best place to find everything about everybody nowadays, it seems. So thank you very much, Mr. Devin, and we'll see you guys in the next round of After Hours.